Hi, Dan here, Scooterotica. Welcome back to the garage. Right, something a bit different today. We've recently been working on an editorial series for Vespa Tech for Scooterotica magazine. So Stan's Vespa was in need of some TLC, so that's all been finished now. If you want to follow that series, I'll put a link in the description for the editions that the Tech series is out in. So you can see the Vespa P200 Polini stripped down and items going on with the clutch and the dyno and the cylinder and the top end and various other bits. So that got finished and back to Stan. And then I won't go into the details of how the deal happened, but essentially I've been gifted a scooter and despite every fibre of my body looking at it and thinking, wow, I should just get a gallon of petrol and set it on fire, I actually, well, A, don't be ungrateful for something that's free, and B, it's more expensive to buy a gallon of petrol these days and set it on fire than it is to keep the item you've been given. So I've received this item with I have to confess, some level of weird enthusiasm. You know that if you watch this channel regularly or you're a customer at our garage here, that predominantly we focus on vintage, classic Italian Vespa Lambretta geared two-stroke scooters, and as well as more modern automatic variants. But anything outside of that, I'm not really too interested in. Non-Vespa brands and non-Lambretta brands and stuff like that. So this was gifted to me. So first the question is what is it? So if you're familiar with the brand Bajaj, they were a company in India who were licensed, I think in the late 60s by Piaggio to produce a variant of the Vespa legitimately. I think the license was either revoked or expired or not renewed, whatever, in the early 70s. But what is an official license to an Indian manufacturer? It's of no importance whatsoever. So they carried on making the Bajaj Chetak, just without the license. And it was their bastardized version of a Vespa. And they actually produced it for quite a long time. And I think in the home market, which is where they predominantly sold it, I think it was actually quite popular in that time. They then went on to produce and I think the Chetak was, if memory serves me correctly, was largely based around a variant of the Sprint frame with their own anomalies added to it. But I think then they went on to produce a scooter called the Legend, and that seems to outwardly have more, appearance-wise, more of an association with the PX style lines than it did the Sprint. But anyway, whatever. In any case, they were just Frankenstein versions of Vespa roots that they'd taken unlicensed and continued to produce. The variant after the Legend was the aptly named Legend 2. And that's what this scooter is. It's a Legend 2 NXT. It seems to be an extremely rare beast. Thank God. There aren't many of them about. This one was brought into the UK, registered as new in 2002, by an Indian guy. So I don't know who he was exactly. Well, I do, because his name's on the V5. But as in, I don't know what he did or why he brought over a Bajaj Legend NXT 2 to the UK and registered it. But he did, and he was the sole owner. He only did 900 kilometres on it, and then let it just rot away for years. And it then went through the hands of another British guy who I think just sort of got it running again, and then it got passed on to Stan, and now I've got it. So it's only, before Stan, I think it only had, well, the original owner whose name's on the V5 still. So it's got actually no miles on it. Now Stan was hell-bent on trying to find old bits for it and like restore it to its new look, but as far as I can see, all Bajaj have done is take some sort of Vespa style or influenced frame and hidden it in plastic. So what I intend to do is rip all the plastic off it, expose as much of the Vespa heritage rip-off heritage as you can, to give it some at least Vespa lines, even though it's not one, it's an Indian rip-off. And then it's got a 4-stroke 150cc engine in it, a geared, so it's got 4 manual gears with clutch, but legged up to a 4-stroke 150cc engine. Out of morbid curiosity, I put it on the dyno and I ran it up on the dyno. It'd only been at the garage 5 minutes. It wasn't running, there was no petrol in it. I just threw a litre of gas in it, strapped it to the dyno. I was laughing my head off, ran it up, and it had an astonishing, groundbreaking 5 horsepower. Had a quick look around it, realised the tyres were flat. They were down at 5 psi front and rear, so I put the front up to 20 and the rear up to 30, re-dynoed it, and I'd now gained a 30% power increase. It was up to a dizzy 6.7 horsepower. I think the official factory figure is about 8.5 for these. That's probably at the crank, it's probably more like 7.5 at the back wheel. So I'm hoping with a spark plug change, an oil change, and maybe a tweak to the carburetor and the ignition timing, it might hit a full 7.5 at the back wheel. It's got a funny old panel filter in there, which is all clogged up. So I took that out and I just removed it and I re-dynoed it to see if that would improve it, but it just ran lean. And so I had to put that back in, but I think the foam filter needs a clean out. So I'll change that and then run it back up. But in the meantime, this is going to be called either Pimp My Ride or Frankenstein Ride or something like that. And I'm going to do it as a mini-series just to follow this. And I'm actually going to end up using it as a bit of a, like a shop bike. So it'll be here for me to nip to the shops on, you know, go get some coffee, maybe commute home. It'll do 100 miles to the gallon. It isn't the sort of thing that I traditionally like, but when you're gifted something in this day and age, especially with the cost of living crisis, that does 100 miles to the gallon, you may as well use it for what it is. It's a free, you know, claptrap banger. And so if you want a bit of fun to follow the project, to see what we can squeeze out of this little shit box, then feel free to follow on along and we'll see how it goes. See you on the next video.